Hello everybody and welcome. Child protection matters are very sensitive and multifaceted, so it requires multidisciplinary approach to address. Today, we are happy that we have a remarkable guest, a child protection practitioner and a passionate social worker. Karibu sana Mike.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It is nice to be here. I really appreciate it.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
So Mike, just tell us about yourself, what you do as a social worker, and give us an insight on what social workers' role is when it comes to child protection.
So, to define who Mike is, it's easier for me to define it in relation to the roles that I play.
Okay.
So, like you rightly put it, I'm a social worker, trained social worker. And since 2017, when I finished my studies, I have worked at the association, the Kenya National Association of Social Workers, at the National Secretariat. I have also been privileged to work with several organizations, both national and CBOs, and also at the Secretariat for the Association of Social Work Educators in Kenya. And then I'm also privileged to be part of the technical committee working on the Social Work Act of Parliament.
Wow.
So, in short, that is how I can describe my profession.
You are doing a lot. You are really doing a lot when it comes to driving positive social change.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we are happy to have you here. Okay. So the role of a social worker in child protection is just enlighten us.
Allow me to use a very personal experience to help our audience who may not be social workers to understand the importance of social work.
Okay.
So personally, I grew up in Mathare. I was orphaned at the age of 9. And in Mathare, the circumstances or situations were very bad. And then my parents, especially my mom, was sick and bedridden for a while. And so at a very young age, I saw this person who came to our place, and they did a number of things. Number one, they took us and placed us under the Toto program. So with the Toto program, we were able to be provided with, I can remember it was cooking fat, porridge flour, and other essentials. And then also another social worker would come. At that time, I did not know there were social workers. So at that time,
You just knew the person as a helper. Or
yes,
a
several
well-wisher.
people were coming to me. Someone else would come check on my mom because my mom was HIV positive and she had a stroke. So hakuna vile ataendelea hospitali. So she would come, assess how she's doing, and then ensure
Through the
that
organization.
I had no idea where she was coming from.
Okay.
I was just seeing someone who comes, and then they will ensure that she has medication and just check up on how she's doing. And then progressively, through another organization, my sister got a scholarship for studies.
Awesome.
So she had a sponsor who paid for primary school. At that time, we were paying fees for primary.
Yes, yes.
And then through that, I also was able to go to school. And then,
Through
in
the
addition
same
to that,
sponsorship program?
yes.
Okay.
Now, in addition to that, we got another organization of well-wishers who constructed for my mom's house. Unfortunately, it was demolished later on,
But at least it helped them.
yes, and then when I went to school, there was this lady who, because we were so poor, could not even afford uniform. So she would ensure that the kids who are at school, those who are leaving class 8, would donate their uniforms, and then through that, then she would give them to me. And then through a number of those interventions, and then luckily after I think class 8, I got scholarship with Kenya Education Fund that paid for my school fees.
You are very lucky.
Yes.
Very.
Throughout high school, and then in high school, there was also this lady who would just come to check up on
You're doing.
how I'm doing in my studies.
And your sister was where by then?
Different story.
But it's fine. It's fine.
And then, so I had 4 sisters. I have an older sister. I'm the second one. And I have another younger sister. Then the other 2 passed away. So I have 2 sisters. So I'm lucky to be in the middle of
Okay.
2 sisters. And then also when in high school, when I was choosing my courses, I had 3 options. I had business, I had law, and I also had social work. At that time, I did not understand what social work is. Now, lucky for me, I was able to after Form 5, I was lucky to be chosen for that. I just saw the social work.
And you went for it.
Yes, when I researched, I identified that social work is something that I have been aspiring to do, because also in relation to personal goals and ambitions.
Yeah. And also life experience.
Yes.
Like mine was shaped by my life experience.
So within that context, I truly believe that social workers have a very important role to play in improving people's lives.
I have seen,
Yes.
and you are one of them.
Thank you.
You are one of them,
I
because
try.
if the role that the social worker who used to come and see you, check up on you, follow up on you, you're now here and you're doing great in life.
So let's take, for example, the Vision 2030. So we have different pillars, largely economic, political, and social pillar. The social pillar is the responsibilities of social workers to ensure that the social pillar of our Vision 2030 is actualized. So that by doing so, we help the whole society improve.
Awesome.
And now specifically,
And that is a huge role if you ask me.
massive,
Yeah.
massive. And now specifically to child welfare and child protection. Social workers play very critical role. Number one, let's take another example of someone who has pregnancy that for whatever reason they are not able to take care of. Let's say, for example, it's an underage child, or someone who has been molested, or is in circumstances whereby they will not be able to offer the best for that child. You can find a social worker at the hospital who, as the mother goes for the prenatal services, is able to access counseling services. And then there are programs whereby, for example, someone can deliver and willingly, with consent and with an understanding, they can give up the child. And then you'll find that there are you'll find maybe there are lawyers, doctors, and also social workers who see that that child is placed under very important care, which also includes doing assessment to that family, so that you can see at the policy of a government that is saying by, let's say, year 2032, all children's homes should be closed.
That's another whole discussion that should be tackled in a different session that I hope we shall have.
So that you find again social workers are involved. Now let's continue with this child who has been born and that. So you find that social worker will ensure that this underage girl, for example, who is pregnant, has been able to be taken care of through medication and everything. It is also the role of that social worker to ensure that this girl has been taken back to school, or even has been linked to other services that ensure that she goes back to school and she fulfills her dreams.
So basically, social workers link people to services.
Yes. you'll find that role they are in. And then this child, when they go to school, for example, when they go to school and they are unable to maybe get adequate resources in terms of even school fees, uniform, and the resources they need to stay in school, you'll find there is a social worker who ensures that
they get
those services and resources are provided to that. Sometimes we don't see it as protection, but it plays a huge part in ensuring that this child is protected.
Exactly, it is basically, because if you are unable to get your basic needs, then even the cases with child pregnancy,
Yes.
teenage pregnancy, the statistics during the COVID period largely was contributed by lack of, access to basic needs,
Huge.
So if you don't get them, you become vulnerable.
Yes. Then let's assume now this child has those resources and continues in their adolescence. Along the way, in different contexts, you find that there are other socialization agents, including peers and society, that predispose this child to things like maybe molestation and drug abuse. So you find social workers coming in to provide education, peer education, life health, life skills training, so that this child is equipped to make better decisions and is protected. And then now this child maybe graduates and now needs to go to maybe high school or college. They need to choose the courses that they need to. We find a social worker
Guiding,
yes, a career guidance is coming.
It's heartbreaking that the role of a social worker is not given the importance
Yes.
it deserves out there.
Yes.
Mostly it's downplayed and trivialized in most contexts. And like you're explaining, social workers are playing a huge role when it comes to child protection and even adult protection.
Yes. Now, when it comes to valuing the role of social workers, what is not seen is because you cannot quantify it. It's not like business. You can quantify it by numbers.
But
It's the quality of life. How
That
you measure
improves.
social work is by measuring the quality of life of someone. How improved is that person's life? And statistics are there to show the importance of social work. For example, we have a lot of cases to do with teenage pregnancy. We have suicide cases with children. We have truancy, dropping out of schools.
very many.
One of the things I do when I'm working with, maybe in a school setting, I'm a trained coach on children mental health issues. So I train on resilience, emotional intelligence, coping skills, and also problem solving. So what we have been able to observe is when it's possible to gather data to do a survey for a child on all those areas before coaching has happened. Then,
So that you are able to measure afterwards
Yes.
the pre and post.
Yes.
Okay.
and it is possible to know, to see the difference in the child. And for example, in a school setting, where I have been doing coaching for the past 3 months for one session, the teachers are even able to see and to know that these two classes where the coaching has happened, there are fewer cases of children not doing their homework. There are fewer indiscipline cases. The children grades
Like there
have
is
improved.
evidence to show that there has been an improvement in
Yes.
their lives. But if you ask me, Mike, when it comes to proving that a social worker is working or quantifying the work of a social worker, qualitatively
Yes.
you can, because say for example you work in a family, in a home, and then you find that that family is, for example, sleeping hungry, going hungry, and then social worker manages to mobilize support for this family. Come on, they have eaten.
Yes.
the physical need has been met. That is already something to show that the social worker has worked. Even when it comes to case management, we have the Child Protection Information Management System at the Children's Department that shows the number of cases that has been handled within a period of time. Whose role is that? Social worker, family tracing, and all that you. I think it's just high time that people see that indeed social workers are doing this.
And on that, I will place a blame on us as social workers for a number of reasons. Number one, social workers are very good people. And because they are very good people, they offer a lot of services, and they just do good, and they are okay with that. Now, unfortunately, when you come to our society and maybe economic system in the workplaces, you need to have a balance between maybe strategy and intention, between maybe thinking and being driven, between passion and practicality, so that social workers need to sell themselves. They need to market themselves.
You will tell us more about that, because I'm sure there are many social workers out there who would love to hear this.
Unfortunately, what that does is people burn out. And then you find very good social workers ending up doing other things not related to social work, simply because social work cannot sustain. And now on the flip side, you get that the people who will benefit from those services will not benefit. And then it's left to people who just have good intentions. They want to help. Now, there's a difference between helping and professional services. Now, social work, by definition, is two things. It is a profession and it is an academic discipline. By profession, it means that it has its theories, it has its models, it has its principles, it has its code of ethics that guides that process. So that when you're going to maybe work with a child or with a family, you have a step-by-step process. From assessment to planning, intervention, follow-up.
The standard operating procedures.
Yes. So that you are not putting the client at risk. Now, when social workers do not do that, and the other people help, which is we find ourselves in a problem whereby instead of empowering, we are creating dependency. So that we are not empowering clients to be self-sufficient, and then you'll find situations where people end up being worse. So there is this concept whereby if you give someone something the first time, they will be very grateful, they will appreciate it. If you give them the second time, they will have anticipation. They will anticipate it for the third time. And then when you give them the third time, they become dependent. And when you give them the fourth, the fifth time, they become entitled.
Oh, yeah.
So that the good intentions that someone had of helping ends up becoming a problem for that person.
It is indeed a problem.
Yes, so you'll find why maybe we have a lot of problems within our slums and even within our children. Like on my day, I think about 4 months sleeping on the street. I've come across several maybe street children. Now, there are interventions, even in the Nairobi County government itself, to solve such a problem. But because we lack professionalism and professionals to run such a program, with very good intentions, we leave it to church leaders, and then we leave it to well-wishers. We open up facilities and institutions where, as long as The rationale is as long as you have provided food and shelter and clothing for that person, that should be.
And also there is a problem of duplicating services by organizations instead of identifying a gap to intervene, you know. Yeah.
So you'll find that it is very possible to solve the problem of street families. Not only the children, but the street families within Nairobi County. There are enough infrastructure.
I agree.
But because we don't have trained people who are trained in social work and who understand the dynamics of such a problem, that
Is left
that
to
contributes.
other people who do not understand the best approach to use. So it becomes a cycle.
And
You get support and then use it the wrong way, worsening the problem.
yes, and it is important now to differentiate between just helping and social. What has also happened for a long time is because even throughout the history of social work, it was started by people, the church, people who just wanted to help. But then it
Not
transitioned to, yes, it transitioned to a profession. Now, we as a country, I don't think we have made that complete transition. Whereby you
We are
find
still at a helping stage.
where you find, and this is very unfortunate, in the meetings that you go with people who are responsible for running programs, even children's programs, are not trained social workers. You find someone who has done HR, who has done sociology, who has done other courses. Unfortunately, you find that that is the person at the decision-making level. An interesting scenario that happened a while back in the Nairobi County was where street families were being beaten up, and then taken to spaces to, like, they were just being taken and dumped. Now, as a social worker, you know that is not the best approach. There is a way that
Going
should
about
be
it.
done, but again, that is not your call. There is someone who is your supervisor, who is your director doing that. So you are forced to find yourself in a situation where you have to be. So you find yourself in an ethical dilemma that you cannot really get yourself out. And that is one of
That
the
is a real
challenges.
problem. It is a real
And that is a challenge being faced by social workers. Again, in the context of child protection. How do you find balance between family sustainability and then removing a child from care? So if someone is not
So there is no
well-trained-
exit strategy.
So if someone is not well trained, you'll find situations whereby it is the family that needs support, and then it will be better for the child. You'll find that in that context, maybe the child is pulled away from that family because maybe someone has done the wrong assessment. And then in other contexts, you find that the child, the home is not suitable for the child.
Thank you so much, Mike, because you have really helped us understand the world of a social worker when it comes to working with individuals, groups, and families. And it's a real problem that social workers are facing out there, that they're unable to practice what they have learned, the best approaches possible when it comes to providing social services to families and individuals. And also, it's a problem out there because the social work profession has not been given the seriousness it deserves.